But are you ready for WNBA?
Yeah, let me know how I know ball.
So this one knows ball because Liberty won. Congratulations to New York. Because we went live right after Game 3 last week, we didn't get to see the full Sabrina Ionescu game-winning 3. So let's watch that now.
Quarter of Game 3. 4 seconds. Ionescu will heave and hit! And hit! Sabrina Ionescu with the biggest shot in Liberty.
Ice in her veins.
Mm-hmm.
And WNBA's first team and second teams were announced right after Game 3, and people rightfully thought that Sabrina Ionescu was snubbed for first team. She was placed on the second team. And this question and answer right after that game had me cracking up.
About not being named first team all WNBA because you sure played in the last minute like you were trying to prove a point.
That was just a great all WNBA second team performance. That's it.
Some other things to mention about Game 3. The attendance at Target Center was 19,521, marking the largest attendance in Lynx franchise history. Breonna Stewart ties Maya Moore for the most WNBA final games with at least 20 points. Stewie also now ranks 4th all-time in career WNBA finals points, passing Lindsay Whalen, former Minnesota Lynx player. She also has the second most 30-point games in WNBA playoff history, passing Angel McCoughtry, and Nafisa Collier passes Diana Taurasi for the most points in a single postseason. DT still holds the record for all-time postseason points. So I'm going to throw it to you guys. Thoughts on Game 3?
New York sucks.
I'll be honest. Every time I'm like you, Soul. Like every time you turn it on, they sucked. So I just turned it off and kept up with the score because it would just be like that. But after the second game or the third game, I'm like, this is going to go the distance. This is just going to go the distance. It's just who's going to blink first, type of game. Which obviously we know the outcome. Spoiler alert. I still know ball, but I knew the Lynx were. It was a fifth. After Game 3, I'm like, I don't know who's going to win at this point. I don't.
Right.
Do you know ball only because you know how to describe a ball? Because that's what you've been doing every transition. We're going from a small circle with a circle ball with hexagons to a lemon shape. Going to lemon shape ball, like that's not knowing ball. I mean technically,
by definition, yes.
Yeah, you're knowing about balls. Yeah.
Still knows ball.
Yep. You look like you know balls.
Too many balls?
This is not that type of show.
But on to Game 4.
Comfortable in my masculinity.
Lynx forced a Game 5 by beating the Liberty 82-80 in Game 4. Unlike the last 3 games, neither team was able to get a huge lead in the first quarter, and they kept things pretty even the whole game. This is a breakdown quarter by quarter, just so you can see how even this game was. Mm-hmm. Both teams scored 33 points in the first. Minnesota scored 23, New York 22 in the second. Both teams scored 18 in the third. Minnesota scored 18, New York 17 in the fourth. This was not Stewie's night, which is weird to say because she did get an 11-point, 11-rebound double-double, but missed so many shots. And Minnesota played really good defense against her. She was 5 for 21 in field goals with a 23.8 field goal percentage, which is awful. If it wasn't for her, the Liberty wouldn't have won Game 3. So everyone, including us, is talking about Sabrina's 3-point game winner, but they wouldn't have been in that position without Stewie. So, Stewie, great player, had an off night. kind of also had a half night in Game 5 as well, but we'll get into it. Whose night it was for the Liberty was Jonquel Jones, which I kind of repeated in Game 5 as well. She played a great and had a 70% field goal percentage with 21 points on the board. For Minnesota, Kayla McBride is a bucket. Courtney Williams got that dog in her. Her and her father, so much fun this entire series. And Nafisa Collier is showing why she won Defensive Player of the Year. They played great as a team and were able to stop New York superstar veteran from being a scoring threat. They also had some big-time shots from Alana Smith and Bridget Carlton. Minnesota did bust out the electric slide after this win. And Gina Fernaro from Barstool was upset that Minnesota created a choreographed dance to celebrate their win against New York. My white people, do y'all not know what the electric slide is? Josh, you're white. Do you know what the electric slide is? And is it normal for white people not to know what the electric slide is?
I mean, I've been to a wedding, one wedding, multiple weddings. Like, if you don't do the are we a part of this society where we don't bust out the electric slide at a wedding, especially us white people?
I wish we were.
Like, I mean,
it's a dumb dance.
Yeah, but it gets everyone
It's a dance
involved.
for people that can't dance. That's
exactly. That's why white people do it at weddings. Because it's so simple to do. It's like,
but
yeah,
it's not just white people. Like, electric slide gets busted out at the cookout, at like any range, whatever ethnicity, race you are, you're doing the electric slide.
What's a cookout? Everybody has cookouts. What are you saying there? What are you saying? Only one race has cookouts? That's racist.
I guess I'm racist.
Yeah, black people, you don't own cookouts, all right? We get it. You
I'm
cook some great
canceled
food.
based on my Bronny
It's
James
better than fucking.
comment,
It's
so
better than
I'm not going to comment on that one.
I'm just going to say that these two thoughts, whatever they say on screen, they're not my thoughts.
Oh, you call me a thought? Oh,
you are one.
Thank you so much, girl.
Well done on that one.
What's up?
Before
Love you, black people. You're good. Sorry,
but yeah, like how do you not know the electric slide is? Like, it just I don't. Maybe I can't understand Gen Z or whatever. How do you not know the electric slide is?
I don't know. Before going to Game 5, I wanted to show some cuteness. Here's Sabrina Nescu and her husband with Nafisa Collier's daughter after Game 4. She doesn't know what team Sabrina plays for. And one thing that was pointed out about Sabrina is this was posted online. That's Nafisa Collier's husband there saying, ever since the Olympics, she's always asking where Sab is. And apparently, like, all of the kids, any of the players on the Olympic team, any of their children, they just like saw her as anti-Sab, anti-Sabrina. Like, they loved her the most. They wanted to be around her. So Sabrina herself doesn't have any kids, but she an auntie.
Not a bad one to have.
Not a bad one to have. Look at how cute they are.
Mm-hmm.
But Josh, thoughts on Game 4?
It's just Stewie being off, which I'm also I will give props to the Lynx of having a great defensive strategy to go against her, to make her frustrated, to make her off her game. Because it wasn't like Stewie just came out there and was like, I'm gonna, everyone has an off game, but like, I mean, game 1, Caitlin Clark, she had multiple open threes and she just couldn't hit them. That happens. Mm-hmm. This was still a good defensive strategy to where not only were they Lynx not really letting Stewie get started, but that just builds and snowballs, or as they call it, snowballs. We'll just do snowballs. Quicksand is what they call it. It's like it just feels like one mistake leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And you just can't build out of it. Next thing you know, you're under. You've been encapsulated. You're buried. Yeah.
And we'll get into reffing in this next game.
The fifth game.
But like the reffing has been terrible this entire series.
Female
And even-
sports in general, reffing is terrible.
And like, credit to Minnesota for keeping Stewie from scoring, but there was multiple times in this game that I'm like, ooh, like New York could have shut this down and won if it wasn't for some bad calls. And then the reverse happens in game 5. So we'll get to that here. So in the end, it kind of becomes even, but New York Liberty, they win their first ever championship on their 6th trip to the final. They've been to the finals 6 times. They're one of the original franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time in 28 years that they've won. Every other original franchise that's still alive right now, which is, I think is the Phoenix Mercury and the LA, are the only other 2 that are still the original from that original year, and they've won. So they're the last to win here. And they win in overtime, 67-62. Main thing people are pointing out about this game is, was that a foul on Stewie or not? At the end of the game to tie up and send it to overtime. Let's pause for a second, guys. People are talking about reffing and about basketball in women's sports. We made it.
Yeah.
We fucking made it,
well,
guys.
I mean, I talked about reffing in women's sports when they screwed us out of getting to the University of Louisville women's getting to a final against Mississippi State. Mississippi State ended up going and losing to Notre Dame, who we beat by 32 times in a row that season. Losing to them in a last second shot, but that's still here to
Josh isn't salty at all.
No.
Not at all. But officiating this series, as we said, has not been great, and there are calls that have gone against both teams this whole series that were, in my eyes, bad calls. That's part of sports, though. If it wasn't for some bad calls, maybe the Liberty win game 4. If it wasn't for some bad calls, maybe the Lynx win game 3. Maybe Liberty win game 1. We'll never know because we can't go back in time. There were plenty of opportunities for both teams to win the games that they lost in this series despite the refs, and the biggest reason is not making shots and too many turnovers. And that's typically how it goes. You're gonna lose if you're turning over the ball and you're missing your shots. You're not gonna win the basketball game. It's just not gonna happen. Kind of also don't like it when coaches blame the refs and make that the reasoning why they lost. Didn't like it when Cheryl Reeves did it in game 3. Didn't like it when Sandy Brondello did it in game 4. Don't like it now when Cheryl Reeves doing it in game 5. But it's their prerogative. And also, like, I guess I can play a little devil's advocate. They really care about their team. And these are 2 like amazing coaches who have won championships before as coaches, and they're going to fight for their team. So I guess I can shout them out on that end, but also at the same time, like, there's plenty of other reasons why you guys lost the games that you lost. And Sabrina herself was asked about it, I think like a day or 2 after the game. So she has her thoughts on the officiating.
Oh, my bad.
More champions. I think that's part of a playoffs. If you've watched any series, officiating never goes the way that you want it. We could have said the same thing about game 4. And that's kind of part of winning. Like, a lot of things have to go right. We're thankful for the opportunity to call ourselves champions, and no one's going to remember what call was made when. All we know is we're in the history books forever. I mean, we're
Josh, you have thoughts about this.
I mean, look at the stat sheet. I mean, we talked about this prior to the show. I mean, look at the free throw discrepancy between the Liberty and the Lynx. Liberty shot 25 free throws. I think the Lynx shot 7. Like, something's off there. There shouldn't be, especially the way, like, if you watch the game, it's like, nope, they were. If you watch in the game before, it's like, they let stuff go for Liberty. No, you can't. It's hard to get there. You're always going to complain about the refs, but it's a best of series.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like one game ref screwed it up. There you go. I mean, if you were good enough, you would have beat them before you got to Game 5. So there's an argument there. So it's not just the ref's fault. Now, this game, yeah, especially the Lynx coach is going to get fined a gajillion dollars because she just went off on the ref.
Yeah, Cheryl Reeves went.
She off. That being said, my counter argument to her: why didn't you close it out the first when you could?
And there were still 5 minutes of overtime too, and
Yeah.
they in overtime. We're gonna get to the game in a second, but this is the main thing that's been coming out is about the refs and about
Yes.
is being stolen. Throw it over to Tvshka. Your thoughts, because I don't know if you watched the game or not, but I know that you have thoughts about refs.
Yeah, well, so I've done my research and I've looked at it, and the electric slide was made by a white dude. Okay.
Okay.
The video in the song was Electric Boogie, who was a black lady named Marcia Griffiths. But it was a white dude that did the choreography. It's lame as shit, guys. It's a fucking square dance. It's it's the Chattahoochee. It's dumb, okay? But no, y'all enjoy it. I don't want to hate on your party, but don't come at me saying that we need to know about a trash dance. That's all I have. I'll cancel myself.
It's not. You just need to know it. Like, I just don't know how you don't know it.
Yeah,
Never been to a wedding?
Like everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Saying,
knows what it is.
saying, this team created a choreographed dance to make fun of the other team.
Oh yeah, right. I love it. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I would be here for that. Like, if the Minnesota Timberwolves want to
Like a
create
troll dance.
a troll dance, I'm sure Ant would be down for it. I've been watching Starty 5. Ant, his personality, I'm sure he'd be down to do some troll dance.
This is still like a top 5 thing in Utah.
But
For the Mormons ball.
going to the game itself, these two teams have been a joy to watch, and this is the best finals of my lifetime, which I'm older than the WNBA, so basically the entire miss of the WNBA, although I probably don't remember the first few seasons, being pretty young there. But New York got the revenge from losing last year, and Minnesota, they're going to be scary next year. Like, if they go on a revenge tour next year, it's going to be scary. It's going to be real scary. This game was a low-scoring affair with overtime helping the score out a little bit. Like, halftime, I think it was like 30-something to 20-something. Like, that's more of a first quarter type of score, not a we've played 2 quarters of basketball. That very low-scoring affair. Minnesota were on the front foot in the first half, specifically first quarter, and their biggest lead was by 12, but New York were able to cut it to a 7-point lead by halftime. Also, big credit to Minnesota for keeping both Stewie and Ionescu scoreless in the first quarter. New York couldn't shoot a 3 to save their freaking lives. And the first 3 that they made was in the fourth. Sabrina Ionescu, which was her first field goal of the game. She only had 5 points this game. 2 of them free throws. The other was a 3-pointer. She was 1 from 19 from 3. She did not shoot. She facilitated the ball, made a lot of great assists, all that, but 5 points. 5 points. So kind of not her night, but then she was able to do other stuff that helped the team out. But yeah, it was weird to see the 2 big players on New York not have a good night. Stewie wasn't shooting great, missing a lot of buckets, but she played good defense, and she got a lot of rebounds and a few blocks in, a few steals. She still had a 13.50 rebound double-double, which is she's getting double-doubles on her bad nights. So just think of her on her good nights. As I said, Liberty won this in overtime, and this was the first time a winner-take-all game in the finals has gone to overtime. So let's watch the moment that they won.
Mm-hmm. But I will say this about Stewie, and you were saying she played good defense even though she had an off night. And this is kind of a basketball thing. I don't care how bad you are on offense, you can still play defense. There's no excuse for it. Just because you're having an off night offensively should not make you play bad defense when you know you can.
Right.
So shout out to Stewie for keeping her, because that's a mental strength.
Yeah.
That I will give Stewie for that, because Jordan has off nights. Sabrina had an off night. You can still play defense. So
Yeah,
shout out
but
to
Jordan's
Stewie
off nights is whenever he's playing poker or he's at the casino.
Right. Or he's got food poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Carlton lobs it in, taken away by Phoebus. Off to Stewart. 28 years in the making.
And she said she took it to the halfway point because she didn't want to get an 8-second violation.
Yep.
The original franchise has Carlton.
Boo.
All right. I will say this. I saw somebody give shit on the Twitter X or whatever you want to call it to Sabrina and being like, why are you so emotional? You only scored 5 points. I'm like, she just won a championship, you douchebag.
And she had her Final Fours canceled in her senior year, which she would have still had to go through South Carolina, but she felt like a championship that she could have had the chance to win didn't happen her senior year, and so this is her first ever championship.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Sol, because she was bad at Oregon. Those Oregon teams, especially her senior year, and she could, again, this is WNBA stuff, but and we'll get into the bargaining agreement and stuff later as far as pay, but she came back. She could have left and went to WNBA and overseas and all other stuff to get paid. And she came back for that run. Unfortunately, COVID stopped it. So we never got to see exactly the height of heights of Sabrina at the height of her powers as far as a collegiate player was. But it all comes back because your greatness is always going to push through someone trying to hold you back. I was trying to think of another better word, but my brain stopped.
We can give you more time. You want some more time?
No. I'm just going to end up talking in circles about Bronny James.
Yeah. To the haters out there talking about someone crying about winning a championship, clearly you've never won shit in your life, dude. I cry whenever I win beer pong, okay? That's because I'm invested, man. I'm passionate. I have a...
That's why we love you.
You don't know my belly. Yeah. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, whether it's your first championship or your 10th, if you're not getting emotional, right? And you're not like, either, kind of tearing up, welling up, or just, supercharged and electric, then quit. Because you're in it for the wrong reason. Because you're clearly not passionate about it. It's just like if you don't get nervous when you go on stage, as a comedian or, musician, then hang it up because it means you don't care anymore. And so for you bottom-feeding lint lickers in the comments, suck it, Jason.
Yeah. Who you calling lint licker, you cootie queen?
Yeah.
After that commercial. Justin here. Yes, he will say go Yankees. Yeah. And I picked you to win
sucks, but congrats.
I picked you to win it. It hurts me to say it, but I think the Yankees are the team.
I picked the Dodgers to win, but it is going to be a fun series. It will be and he also says congrats to the New York Liberty. Good
season for New York for sure.
Good season for not in football, but
fall season
yeah. There are 3 players I want to speak about on the Liberty side. That is the reason, in my opinion, that they won because, as we said, Stewie and Sabrina not really scoring here. First is Jonquel Jones. She deservedly won Finals MVP. She's made big-time buckets this whole series, and she kept them alive when Stewie and Sabrina weren't making shots. The game plan pretty much was get the ball to JJ. She's 6'6". She was towering over everyone. Sandy Brondello basically went with her big lineup in the second half of this game, and that was able to help them out because they were just taller than the other team. But let's watch the tape.
Backing it away, Jones. New York likes this switch onto Collier for Jones. Jones lays it in as Collier tried to pull the chair. Stewart working Smith. Draws 2. Jones looking for some help. Jones going to take it to Williams. And why not? Stewart dumps it down. Jones 5 to shoot. Jones puts it down, gets it back.
And like I said, they did not score any threes, really. So this was all in the paint from Jonquel Jones.
Beast. And on this possession, she's beasting. Just using her strength, goes up. Wow.
Ionescu now saunters to the scorer's table. Stewart dumps it down. Jones the catch and the finish.
And then the next player is Niara Sabali. She's a bench player who hasn't gotten a lot of minutes these finals, but her number was called because Sandy Brandella was like, we're going to go with a bigger team. And she put in work. She was that spark, and she kept the game alive for the Liberty. And this was one of her crucial plays, so let's watch it.
Williams has been cold here, 2 for 14. Sabali the steal. Sabali the breakaway. And the lay.
She had Barkley's hopping with that.
Well, I will say that, though. That was a lazy-ass pass, but still a good play by her. That was a lazy-ass pass.
And then the third person is Leonie Febish. She breaks the record for most points made by a rookie in WNBA Finals history with 61 points. She has played great this series, and she drained this 3 at the start of overtime that really set the tempo for New York in overtime.
Overtime of Game 5 is underway. And you wonder, Febish connects.
That was their second 3 of the game.
The fact that she took it that early in the shot clock, which is like, no. Okay, good shot.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave a link down below. Watch the post-game press conference. You can see both Cheryl Reeves going off, and you can see Stewie drunk as hell. Which that's really more the fun part, is the drunk Stewie. But really, what got me emotional in watching this game was seeing former players of the New York Liberty at the game, specifically Teresa Witherspoon, who was in her Liberty jersey from the 90s. That's what she wore to the game. And when she was getting emotional, she was like, you cry, I cry. Teaspoon was part of those teams that made it to the finals and never won, but this is her hyping up the crowd. And we're playing without sound because we don't want to be canceled like Tvshka.
Yep, or echoed.
Right.
And then the next one, Teaspoon was completely speechless. They gave her the shirt, the hat, and they were asking her what it means, and you could just tell on her face. She couldn't speak. She was emotional. We don't have sound here, but we should have sound here.
No, because we muted it, so it's not.
I already know.
But going on to you guys. Any final thoughts of Game 5?
Well, there should be 7 games.
It will be next year.
It will be next year. But like I said, yes, you don't like to give the argument about the refs. This is exactly what you would want in a final, number one. If anytime you have, especially basketball, you're going to have refs being involved. Even in football, ask the Philadelphia Eagles against Kansas City Chiefs when they brought up that ref thing. But guess what? I say the same thing you should have done. It should never come down to refs. You should win the game by yourself. Now, if there's something egregious to where, it came down to where both teams are playing well and just one call switched it, that's a different argument. But in a best of 5 series, if you're bitching about one game the refs called wrong, that's not against the refs in a sense. It's more against you should have just done what you're supposed to do to begin with, which we always say about any sport. Same thing I said about Philadelphia. Philadelphia was up by like 10 or 14 or something like that against the Chiefs.
Like everybody else is in the playoffs, but they can't win.
Yeah. And just at the end of the day, I mean, the Houston Texans way back when, the Chiefs were like, "We'll spot you 24 points. Watch us kick your ass." You remember that game? So it's like
That was great.
It
the
sucks
shot for the dynasty,
right? And so it's like it stinks sometimes when you have to bring the refs in, and they do have a decent, at least the Lynx do on that last game. Yes, they have a decent argument, but it's game 5, not one game go home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. That's the reason you have multiple games to figure out who's the winner, just in case a bad refereeing situation happens. If it's game 5, it went to overtime. You had a shot to win in overtime. You still didn't win in overtime.
Especially, too, if in the series the refs went your way in other games.
Game 4.
Game 4, for example. But, yeah, there's been, like I said in the thing, there's been times that the refs were going against the Liberty and for Minnesota, and there were games where they were going for Minnesota, like they were going against Minnesota for Liberty. So in a sense, it kind of becomes even because you have these multi-game series where refs are going to favor one or the other, especially too if it's like at home or away. You have, just with the crowd and everything, these refs are human beings.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, whenever they go to 7, like I was going to say earlier, it's that we'll get a better idea of what this looks like too. I mean, instead of it being a 3-game, it'll be 4 as far as, to be able to win that series out. But with the officiating and just any calls that people complain about, then scrub through the whole fucking game. I mean, pick any little microcosm or, whistle that was blown and stack it up. I mean, because it's probably going to be even at the end of the day. Some just happen at the end of the game, which is what everybody remembers. They may not, remember that bad call the first half or, things of that nature. That's where, like, for the NFL, people complain about the Chiefs. Oh, man, they're getting so many, good breaks. And we are. We've been lucky in some things, and they've just came at the right time. But also, we've been highly penalized on our offensive line. Like, we typically have more penalty yards. It's just one of those situations. But
I was by Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. I mean, we got rid of his ass finally. Good Lord. Thanks, New York, for that one. God dang.
He's got 2 rings.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and he had a good kickoff return. But also the last time he didn't even play the playoffs.
No.
When last ring he got. So, but anyways, no. I mean, people are just going to complain about it. And then once we remove the human element, we go to all robots with, cameras and audio telling us exactly what happened. Then we're going to complain about technology. We're going to complain that the color of the field's too blue. I mean, we're just,
shot at Boise State football.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And Blue Mountain State too.
Arkansas State having the red field. Like, are you? What's up with you attacking field colors?
I'm racist, man. What can we say? But no, but we're gonna complain about something. That's just human nature.
Yep.
Because when you're trying to rationalize why you lost and that it's not your fault that you lost, you grasp at straws and you pull things out of your ass, which typically, guys, it's shit. It's shit. And that's what those opinions are.
Yeah. I do want. Go ahead.
Sorry, so not to interrupt, because I was looking for the notes. Did you talk about the MVP?
About Jonquel Jones getting MVP?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And I'm just okay. Before, because I saw the Nafisa Collier stuff, and is that where we're?
Yeah, that's where we're going next. Thanks, Josh.
Well, no, I was just the thing about to say about Jonquel Jones getting the MVP.
Yes.
I do want to touch on that. It was like Andre Iguodala when he played for the Warriors, getting the MVP over Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Like, it's just like she deserved it and she earned it, especially Game 5, where they just basically leaned on Jonquel.
The difference, though, is she also is a former MVP winner of the league as well. So it's like she's a little bit better than Andre Iguodala.
I'm just talking about headline-wise. Stewie and Ionescu were taking up all the headlines, and plus Stewie was played great till game. I think Stewie had it pretty much wrapped up if they won it.
Yeah.
And then Game 4 happened, but Jonquel was consistency throughout the whole series. Plus, also too, a guy named Steven Schaefer, Barstool, he had the Lynx winning it, and he hedged his bet going into overtime, and he put money on Sabrina, which I could have told him a million years, don't put money on Sabrina winning MVP. And he also put Stewie on winning MVP. He hedged his bet just in case the Lynx lost in overtime that Sabrina or Stewie were going to win MVP, and then it went to. And he was live watching, and he just like, I lost it all. And I'm like, that's right, bitch.
I mean, immediately game 4, I was just like, oh, if Stewie doesn't have a good game 5, this is Jonquel Jones's MVP if New York wins.
Yeah.
But I do want to speak a little bit Tvshka Collier for a second and what she has done this postseason. Most points in a single postseason, tied for most points in a playoff game, most steals in a WNBA Finals series, most stocks, steals, and blocks in single postseason. Only player in WNBA playoff history to average 40 points per game in a series. This was against the Phoenix Mercury. Only player in WNBA playoff history to post 3 straight 25-point, 10-rebound performance. There's a reason why she was second in voting for MVP this year behind Asia, and we all need to put some respect on her name. Minnesota and her did not get a lot of coverage this year, but she's a baller. And as I said before, Minnesota is going to be scary next year. And if I were to put in a very, 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 very early prediction, I think Minnesota might win next year.
As long as they keep their team intact. But we've seen some teams who make a deep run, and then they're still the same team next year as far as players, but it just doesn't work. And also, too, like if you look at other sports like NFL, the team that lost in Super Bowl, statistically, they don't even make the playoffs the next year. That being said,
this isn't football.
This isn't football. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This isn't football, number one. And number two,
should be.
The Lynx are taking the steps. So, like the Golden State Warriors, before they hit the dynasty, they were right there. The Kansas City Chiefs, they didn't have a defensive coordinator when they went up against Tom Brady, and Gronk just walked down the field as Tony Romo literally called out the plays. We're going to go to Gronk here. We're going to do that. And then I forget the guy's name, the linebacker that jumped off sides. But then after that, but the Chiefs were making their steps, right? Now it wasn't a Super Bowl loss, but it was in the AFC Championship. But then they got that, so I'm just saying, like, there's two sides to a coin. Either A, they're going to take that next step and become a champion next year, or B, they're going to implode. Fortunately, that's just how, and as far as storyline wise and what we see and trend wise in other sports, could happen.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it like kind of just trend wise of the WNBA, and typically of if you just see it in the previous year of New York losing, getting their shit together, winning the following year. Minnesota is a really, really good team, and they don't get the credit that they deserve. Even though, like, I'm not really a fan of any team because there's no team down here in Miami, so I'm a fan of players. But if they do keep these players together, they know each other really well. That's one more year under their belt that they know each other really well, and that they are able to. Cheryl Reeve said too that not one person on the team has the what did she call it, the disease of me, that they all played for each other instead of for themselves. So that can take a team pretty far.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you didn't check me with the Florida Panthers. Literally, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals the year before, then they won it for the first time ever the next year. So surprised you didn't. I'm surprised so that I was the first one to bring that up. I'm just saying. But what you were saying,
I'm trying to be humble, Josh.
Yeah, I'm also. Hey guys, you like to see me self-check myself? There you go. There's that one. But also, but the thing is, I think the Lynx have the best coach. Yes, and I'm a big fan.
She won us a gold medal.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. As everyone knows, I'm a huge fan of Becky Hammon. I think she should be an NBA coach. That's how much I like Becky Hammon. But what the Lynx coach did with that group, it's still, you have to have talent. I don't care. As John Wood, as my great uncle once said, he goes, I read John Wooden's book, and he says in his book, there's 3 keys to being a successful coach. Number 1 is having the best players. I forget the other 2. So you still have to have the players, but if nothing beats the power of a unit until you run into like a New York Liberty, who are just a better unit than you are.
But This is the end of the WNBA. I know Tvshka's so sad. So sad.
Look, you guys want to be better, then pick a better fucking dance, man. Electric Slide sucks, dude. That's why you lost.
They used to jump on it.
Dude, at least get the Cupid Shuffle.
I was getting ready to say that. I'm like, really? The Cupid Shuffle? That's what you're doing? No. Every team, dude, walk it out the right way. Okay?
That's a good one, too. Yeah.
Oh, no Superman in that hoe?
Snoop Dogg?
No, I'm tired of that freaking thing. No.
Yeah. I'd go more, walk it like it's hot. Or drop it like it's hot.
But do you guys have any favorite WNBA moments this year?
Tvshka, I'll let you start.
Dude, I'm all for the racism. It is so fucking hilarious, man. Watching these stupid trolls argue over nothing. I'm surprised that a white girl is one of the best ones in the league. But hey, more power to them. White people can have stuff too, y'all. I know they took everything, but they can keep some things. Like the electric slide. Fuck, keep it. Trash, man.
I wish I wouldn't say I'm piggybacking off of that. It's not the piggybacking off the racism thing. It's just the fact that, for one thing, Asia Wilson is the best player in the NBA, not Caitlin Clark. WNBA, sorry, but she could take some dudes. But she is the best player in the WNBA, not Caitlin Clark. But my favorite part of the season is people realizing that the WNBA is a good good league. And the fact that, yes, Caitlin Clark brought a lot of eyeballs, but then, like I said, the actual good part of it is we're seeing record, as we're getting ready to get into, the best part of the season is the fact that people realize, oh, shit, this is fun to watch. That was the best part of the season, is after, like you said, in the 90s and stuff, since this league has been around for 20-plus years, this is the first time ever that we're like, we finally got introduced to the WNBA, and it wasn't. Yeah, and
welcome.
Yeah, we had discourse back and forth. Yes, so there were bad discourse, but the thing was, they were still talking about it, and that was my favorite part. Is obviously like Maya Moore, Holzclaw, Cheryl Swoops, obviously DT being there for 20 years. Oh crap! I'm trying to think of the other
Sue Bird,
Lisa Leslie, Sue Bird. Oh crap! Candace Parker. Like, you've had great, amazing basketball players come to this league, and no one cares. Now people are starting to pay attention because we're getting, and it's not going to stop either, because me and Sol have been talking about and ad nauseum about Juju and not Juju Smith-Schuster. They both went to USC, by the way. That was kind of weird how that all kind of worked out.
That's where they get their names.
I don't know about that, but but Juju and Paige Buchers also coming in the league following this next NCAA women's league, and because of how it's finally starting, we're starting to see the respect, in a sense. I know there's like you said, there's bad apples, but they're talking about it. The worst thing you could do, and I'm going to use wrestling here, the worst reaction is no reaction. This is the most reaction we've ever seen the WNBA have, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. This is the most reaction we've ever seen. That is my favorite part, because I've rattled off a bunch of players. Obviously, Maya Moore, I wish she was still around.
Imagine if Maya was still around to experience
it.
Yep. Also, the most watched finals game did not have Caitlin Clark. So suck it, trolls.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Facts. Some of my favorite moments, I think this was Yahoo Sports that did this video compilation, and it has some of my favorite moments in here. I love that people got to see the W for not just the greatness that was on the court, but then also the personalities of these athletes, which sometimes those are the funnest parts when it comes to following athletes, is their personality.
Looking at it here, like Cheryl Miller's looking at this being like, about damn time. I mean, she was looked at as better than Reggie Miller. I know they're siblings, but still.
I did not know it was possible to tear your ACL playing knockout.
She got her hands on a lot of balls, blocked a lot of shots. You know how I do.
There it is. Oh, yeah. That's good.
I sprint everywhere. I sprint in my
No, it's
apartment.
not.
Sprint. I sprint. I love sprinting.
You know, the earlier struggles in the season when, you know, people were thinking, okay, like, you know, maybe the Aces were cooked. What was
She was auditioning for One Tree Hill. 7 Heaven.
I was projectile vomiting in game 1, the whole game. So to be honest, like I kind of like that yesterday at a sushi bar.
For us today.
Sushi Glory Hole.
Get my hands on as many balls as I could, and take advantage of Caitlin.
And then Collier is going to get called for a.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Good shit.
I couldn't help it when she said the sushi comment. Sushi Glory Hole.
But great year of WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
We have,
Arguably the best. As we're never mind. You get into it. Damn it. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
Hands down the best one, man.
Yeah.
The most money making, which will equal bigger contracts next year, and more money and more support and resources for them. And then, yeah, the most watched, dude. Hands down the best.
And speaking of bigger contracts here, the WNBA Players Association votes to opt out of the 2020 collective bargaining agreement. So the day after Game 5, the WNBPA put this video out saying they're opting out of their 2020 collective bargaining agreement. Let's watch the video.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to opt out.
The WNBA, you know, if you want us to be here, you have to pay us more. It's business.
Everyone, buckle up. It's about to be a fun day. This is our opportunity to get it right.
Deuces.
Quick little video there. With them opting out, the players in the league have until the end of the 2025 season to negotiate a new CBA. This year has been a historic WNBA with record viewerships, increase in attendance by 48%, and increase in merchandise sold by 600%. The key issues for the WNBPA are, 1, establishing a new economic model where players' wages reflect a growth in business. The current max salary right now is $252,000. Build upon professional standards with consistency across the league, not just New York, Seattle, Las Vegas, and Phoenix that have the lead in changing and having better facilities for their players. So, like, basically those 4 franchises have done so great for their players and having good facilities. The other franchises, there was a moment where it was playoff game and Connecticut had to share, put the partition on the freaking court and only have half the court because there was an event going on the other side. So they were practicing for a playoff game.
These teams are the Oakland A's of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then
and Oakland Raiders, too.
True. And then the other one is the expansion to lifelong benefits, including retirement and family planning. The WNBA Commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, released a statement later that day saying, with the historic 2024 WNBA season now in the books, we look forward to working together with the players and the WNBPA on a new CBA that is fair for all and lays the foundation for growth and success for years to come. So, Tvshka, they may be getting their money.
Oh, yeah, they will. And if not, then they're just going to start their own league, and somebody else will pay them. Whether it be Elon Musk or be, fucking Ice Cube. I mean, whoever it is. I mean, we got a 3v3 going. Some additional leagues that, will get the money in the off season. Yeah, and it's just really cool to see a unified front. I don't know. It'd just be nice if, us as fucking Americans would do the same thing and unite this November whenever we say the electric slide sucks, dude. It fucking sucks, bro. God, it's trash. So trash.
Well, on that note, Josh, you have any thoughts before we go to kicking and screaming?
Obviously,
we still have more. We have more things to go. Guys, I don't have time. I love y'all. I just don't have time. Josh, take it away. Like and subscribe.
You got it,
See
man.
ya.
See you.
Love y'all.
Love you. So Sol and I, we went through discussion with this because I kind of just brought up in our just discussions this week because once the bargaining agreement came out, I did a deep dive in it, and then I alluded to you, and then you did a deep dive in it because there's some articles, even obviously some of them are from the sources that are like they're just pushing a narrative, and then we're like, all right, but when's that other article? And SI did publish it. Now, granted, they're quoting other teams. Again, there's multiple articles that say this, but and we both did, that WNBA took a $40 million loss. That is what has been said and what multiple articles have said. Now, most of them are pushing an agenda. SI did release an article saying that. And SI never put, as far as I know, they're not pushing an agenda. Other than the only agenda they have is the swimsuit edition. Like that's the only agenda that I know of that they have is like, we got to make sure we get our swimsuit edition. Shout out to Alana Maher.
But then we also found CBS Sports putting a similar article as well. Because my pushback on Josh was just like, okay, SI is quoting another
New York Post,
Daily
Mail,
and it was like they're kind of quoting sources that I don't trust very much, and then every other article I saw was quoting New York Post, Daily Mail like that, and I was just like, okay, can we find somewhere where there's enough sources that we trust, like SI, that are putting something, and then when I saw CBS Sports, I'm like, okay, we can now go forward with this investigative journalism.
Right. So yes, we've done the research, people. Crazy thing that no one ever does, but we literally, before we came up with our opinion, we actually did our research and I just brought up to, I was like, I love the fact that they're separating because they're taking the training wheels off, because you got to strike when the iron is hot, and it is the hottest it's ever been, like I just alluded to. And that's why my favorite part is the fact is we're here. The WNBA is here. Granted, was it because of the Caitlin Clark effect? Sure. Ride that right now. And then you had Angel Reese. So it's not like this rookie class. And then I said, like,
and people fell in love with Asia and Nafisa, and literally they started watching and they started falling in love with these players.
Right.
Which
you had those
was great to see.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, the good part about it is I said the great part about Caitlin Clark is she's going to bring eyeballs to the game. And then when they bring eyeballs to the game, it's a trickle-down effect of like, oh, well, and then you watch her play this person, like, oh, that
the only trickle-down that actually works.
Allegedly. But this isn't a political thing. But you have the effect. It's a gateway. She's the gateway. And we're not Caitlin Clark haters here, by the way. We're huge Caitlin Clark fans because she plays the game the right way.
And we're also huge Angel Reese fans. Like, you can be both.
You can be both, guys. It's the thing. Anyway, but you got to strike when the iron's hot, and this is exactly what they're doing. And then through our discussions, because it's hard to make up, because like you were alluding to too, every year they're meeting $10 million loss, and this a $40 million loss.
So before this year, every year they were working at a $10 million loss each year.
Yeah. So, and from an investor standpoint, you're like, why would I invest in that, right? Like you're saying, like, why am I joining a sinking ship in that retrospective? If you're just looking at the math, that is a dying ship. Not really. It's the fact of how it's all sorted out.
Yeah.
Right. How is that collective bargaining? So they have rights to, because it's NBA franchises that are keeping this afloat, which is, I'm glad that they're doing it, because we're finally getting to this point where they can do it. Because unfortunately, for the past years of the league, you kind of needed that. You needed the training wheels, because they weren't going to they could survive on their own, but we didn't have the multiple media outlets and sponsorships and stuff like that. The money wasn't.
And sometimes too, you didn't have WNBA owners that cared.
No.
Like, let's look at the New York Liberty, for example. They used to play in Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were kicked out of Madison Square Garden, and then they played in a 2,000 seat arena with stairs that
Right.
the players were climbing upstairs, like I think in Westchester for
Right.
several years. So, and then these new owners that came in was just like, no, we're going to get you better facilities, and we're going to bring you to Barclays, and we're going to make with the Nets, we're going to speak to them, be like, hey, can we use this facilities as well? And kind of upping the thing where they are now a franchise that is respected because of what these new owners have done. So I think getting owners that care, that we've seen with Seattle, we've seen with Phoenix, we're seeing with LA, with New York, if each franchise can have owners that care, that are investing in these players, that are investing in their product, that's just going to bring more and more money.
Right. And you, like you said, like we were alluding to with Caitlin Clark, she was offered $3 million to be in the men's 3v3. So we already know there's people that are going to gravitate to this league. Obviously, we've gone over the numbers. I mean, there was 1.2 for the finals.
There was, and then this last one, I think it was 2 million were watching, and then it peaked at 3.3 million people watching. So, that wasn't happening before this year.
And this was with NFL, and let's just put it in perspective of the Game 5. They were going on postseason and the NFL.
Yeah.
And they still
MLB, NFL, WNBA, and then MLS playoffs are going on right now. Not that that's probably taking away any views from the WNBA, but still, there's a lot of sports going on.
But there's a lot of sports going on. The fact that you still had that rating, as Tvshka alluded to, without Caitlin Clark. So you're going, even though it's a $40 million loss, and that is nothing to sneeze at. Math is math. You just can't. You can't sneeze at that. And we were talking about, the reason that is, how did you lose $40 million when you had the most successful year that you can think of? Is because they invested more, but they didn't have the business plan. They were like, oh shit, people are giving us crap. Let's do private jets.
Time to prepare, yeah. And all this time to prepare, and they didn't prepare when Caitlin arrived. They thought things were going to be business as usual, and it was not.
It was not. No, Caitlin brought in. It's a Caitlin Clark effect. It's just there's no way around it. It's a Caitlin Clark effect, but it ended up being a good thing for the fact of where we're going to the future. You can sit there and look at, well, why would you invest in something that's a $40 million loss? It was a $40 million loss because they weren't set up correctly. And there's enough other people out there. I mean, hell, freaking Dave Portnoy for Barstool offered her $10 million to play on their rec league, right? The money's there. It is out there.
And not just for Caitlin either. The money's there for all these players.
No.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is yes, $40 million is hard to overcome. Math is math. There's one thing about math, you can't bullshit it.
Yeah.
But to sit there and look at all the numbers and to see 3 million viewers with Monday Night Football going on, or Sunday Night Football. Yeah, it was Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football going on and MLB going on with big implications, and you're still peaking at 3.
Yeah.
Without Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, I hope.
And without Asia too.
And without Asia, without Kelsey Plum, who is definitely a figure. And she's a great basketball player, but she's also more social based because of all the Darren Waller bullshit. But I think this will still be successful. I think you're taking the training wheels off.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been waiting for this for 20 plus years of them finally taking training wheels off. But what were you saying?
28.
Yeah.
That's how long this league has existed.
And it's all been, and they've been taking loss after loss after loss, but they really didn't have anything to be like, okay, I think we're ready.
Mm.
We-
and also
yeah.
too, they were ready beforehand and they had superstars beforehand, but unless you have people invest,
Yeah,
it's not going to go forward.
They would not do this unless they knew of number one what we talked about,
which is bullshit, but it is what it is.
I mean, I'm not made out of money. I wish I was, but yeah. You can't bullshit numbers. That's the Federal Reserve. Shout out. Yeah, Tvshka just said that. Yeah.
Thought you left.
Yeah. Anyway, my last thing is when we talked about, and it's a big thing with any type of organization, especially when you're not media, but you're an entertainment based organization, you need TV rights, which the bargaining agreement basically was like, we'll give you TV, but we're still going to control everything. It's all them now. So now the ball, all pun intended, the ball is in their court. I like it in their court.
We see with right now, like Nafisa Collier and Stewie, which is funny. All the memes of like all their meetings for Unrivaled, they're at a really long table now on other side because of this finals. But they got TV rights with TNT. Mm-hmm. They got a better TV rights deal than the WNBA currently has right now.
Yeah.
And they're a new league starting this year, 3v3 basketball. That's what shows you with big names, and there's still 4 players yet to be announced because it's a 30-player league. But right now, this is without Caitlin Clark. And they are getting already all of this noise and this TV rights deal. So if Unrivaled can do it, a league that technically doesn't exist yet until January, then the WNBA can do it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. I mean, they're going to get pushback, but no, if you don't get pushback, then obviously you're not causing any ruffles.